Hey everyone, my name's Walter, and we're back here with some more Reddit content. Before I start this, the story today is part 2. I'll link to the first one in the description. So today we'll be talking about neckbeards. Neckbeards are sophisticated gentlemen who enjoy the finer things in life. Things like Mountain Dew, anime, and posting on Reddit atheism. They are all very smart, and you'll no doubt notice by the end of this video. So let's begin with more neckbeards from Reddit. As usual, we're going to read some posts first. These posts come from Reddit Just Neckbeard Things. Pants were invented for men, not women. It's impossible for a woman to wear pants, jeans, yoga pants, leggings, dungarees, etc. without sexualizing her body, since they highlight her legs, curves, and rear end. Women who want to be modest should not own pants at all. I don't think an object can sexualize someone. I think it's the people looking at them that do it. Anyone can either wear loose pants to show nothing or wear really tight pants to show everything. This next one is pretty rough. So I calculated it. There are 168 hours in 7 days. I spent 107 of those hours playing WoW. That leaves 61 hours. I never get more than 5 hours of sleep, but assuming I got 5 hours every day for simplistic calculations, that leaves 26 hours. In that week, school can be rounded to about 20 hours of class, labs, homework, lab reports, and reading, leaving 6 hours, which was spent playing Rainbow Six, Among Us, and cooking dinner. All meals are consumed while playing WoW. So let's say I spent 3 hours cooking and 3 hours on those other games. That means 110 hours of my week were spent playing video games, which is about 65%. Before anyone asks, yes, that was my post, definitely. Now, in mine, my meals were Mountain Dew and Cheetos. Kinda reminds me of Elliot Rodger. Never thought I'd meet an actual sexist. When your only two choices are being sexist or have a country that's headed for ruin and collapse, I'll take being sexist. I mean, is not allowing people who are underage the privilege of voting hateful against children? Also, it's not like the voting system I'm proposing eliminates all women from the dating pool, just the welfare queens and single moms who take more out of the system than they put in. Why let people have the right to vote more of other people's money into their pockets? I like that last sentence. Voting themselves pay raises is like the only thing Congress is good at. I don't see why this voting system should be gendered, though. There's plenty of deadbeat dads working under the table who vote. Not sure if this counts, but here it goes. On a home teaching visit, a guy in my ward at BYU spent an hour complaining that no girls in the ward wanted to date him. The reason? He refused to ask out any girl who was not a freshman. He was 31. You know who that reminds me of. Speaking of Lucas, he's currently in the mental hospital after losing his cool with a volunteer nurse and getting kicked out of House of Charity temporarily again. Follow me on Twitter if you want sporadic updates. I would be her best friend. I'll definitely get to know her, always be there for her. I'll definitely date her and take her out on many, many dates, and hopefully, if God wills, be her gentleman. Because I got raised to always treat a lady with respect and like a queen and a princess, make her feel like a true lady, and make her feel like she's the only princess in the world. And these are not just words, I mean it with all my heart. Yeah, not just any princess, the only princess in the world. What a gentleman. Ladies, your worth is determined by your propensity to be docile/submissive, your abilities as a homemaker, cooking, cleaning, child rearing, and yes, your physical attractiveness. Period. End of sentence. These are biological cues that men are attracted to because they are efficacious to maintaining solid monogamous family structures and by extension healthy and vibrant communities. No amount of self-love and self-acceptance will convince someone you're a worthy partner. I was gonna say he was just a MGTOW or something, but he just kept talking and using big words and logic. Definite neckbeard talk. Yeah, I saw his profile picture. Anyway, we've got a story to get to. Let's head on over to Reddit Neckbeard Stories, where I got the first one. I dated a neckbeard cell who fancied himself as Christian Grey, Part 2. I'm back with Part 2 of my saga with Christian Grey. I have a desk job and it's a slow Friday, so I want to get all this out while it's fresh on my mind. If you need a recap or are new, you can find the first installment here. So I left Christian for the second time that day at the airport. I didn't get home till about 9 that night, and unfortunately due to that, my class assignment ended up being late. I put in as much work as I could until midnight, but just didn't finish it all before the deadline. That should have been assigned to me. I take a lot of pride in my assignments, and I have never once before or since turned in something late. Even when I managed to get myself a nice concussion, I was still on point for class. Anyway, I was salty with Christian for a bit. Sure, he didn't make me stay behind to miss my assignment, but he pestered me to do it, which was annoying enough. Things from then on became more rocky with us. 2 months into us dating, he kept bringing up the topic of living together, not in the future, but like soon. Specifically in my one-bedroom home. I told him no. Full stop. One, I'd only been living on my own for about 6 months maybe at that time, and I was enjoying living by myself and having to be responsible for no one but me and my cat. Two, we'd only been dating for 2 months and we met once. Once. That is not a thing. He told me he respected my wishes, but still would bring the topic up, constantly. Another thing that put me off about Christian was before he came to visit, he gloated about buying me material items. He quickly learned that didn't faze me, but being newly single and living on my own, having help with groceries, rent, etc. was really appreciated. Things I needed. He turned sour at this, basically implying that as a woman, I needed to enjoy shopping, makeup, getting my nails done, and whatnot. I hate shopping, one because I don't like stores. Also, I'm very alternative, and most brick shops have absolutely nothing that interests me, besides leggings and underwear. Lastly, I'm short as hell, but curvy. Everything is too big and too small on me at the same time. I do enjoy makeup and nails, but I can get those things done myself, and I only go to the nail salon in the summer for pedicures, really. None of those things are priorities when I'm living paycheck to paycheck. The joke is that when he got here, he only paid for the dinner, and that's it. I spent roughly $500 to $600 on him alone that week, and it wasn't like I had that kind of money to spare. He would look around my place and tell me things that needed to be fixed and that he'd get them for me, so we made trips to some repair shops, Lowe's, etc. We would cart all the stuff, then when we get to the register and get the total, Christian would look at me wide-eyed expectantly. Then I'd pull out my card, and on the way to the car he'd say, "Well, if I'd known it would have cost that much, I would have paid for it." Are you kidding me, dude? You saw the total on the screen, then literally looked at me to pay for it. This happened 2 to 3 times till I got the drill and just refused to go shopping with him. Don't get me wrong, I don't expect a guy to spend money on me. That's not the point. But if you're going to offer to help someone but back out at the cash register and make the other person pay, you are a special kind of awful. Why would anyone behave like this, even? Like she's not going to notice if you just always say you'll pay for things but don't? Funny thing is that he'd buy me super cheap shoes and lingerie randomly, and by cheap I mean prices even Wish.com couldn't beat. It was always stuff I hated, and I later learned he'd buy me stuff that catered to his fetishes. But I found it extremely insulting. I'd let him know I was struggling to pay a bill, and instead of helping with that, he'd buy me nighties or a crappy pair of shoes. He deduced me to a dumb female that could be pleased by buying her material items, and he was proud of it. I told him eventually that if he isn't going to help me where it counts, don't buy me shit. I need a roof over my head more than I need a stupid pair of 5-inch heel boots. So needless to say, I couldn't trust him to actually help with rent and utilities, so that was another reason why living with him was a no-go, but the most important was that it was way too soon into the relationship. Things with Christian got more strange, and soon he confessed to me that he was a dom. Okay. I'm not here to kink shame, but I doubt someone can claim they are a dom if they haven't slept with someone in over 9 years. Christian hadn't had a relationship, or even a one-night stand with a woman since his wife left him, and he didn't have a reason except for, it's because of my illness, which I highly doubted. Brain cancer is a big thing, and any illness can be hard on a relationship, but that doesn't mean people won't want to have a fling or one-night stand with you. But at the time, I didn't look into it too much. This is what really reminds me of Neckbeard. He said he was a dom too, after telling everyone else he was a virgin. Never understand why people feel the need to share that fact either. Christian would soon start bringing lots and lots of BDSM into the conversation. And I don't mean during welcome times. I mean we'd be talking about clouds and then he'd link me a random website with a bunch of sex toys asking which ones I liked. We could not have a normal conversation, ever. He would soon start sending me random links to hardcore porn, other toys, women he found attractive, kinks, etc. Just constantly. He would write these embarrassingly Wattpad-level BDSM stories about us, and guys, I could have vomited from the cringe. I wish I'd saved some of those walls of texts he sent me. This guy made the actual Christian Grey look like a certifiable BDSM expert. This is coming from a guy who hadn't had sex in almost a decade. I have to say it now, but it does not help that I was not sexually attracted to Christian in any way. If anything, I can sleep well at night knowing that I did not have sex with this man. I physically couldn't. I tried blowing him, but guys, I am not exaggerating when I say he was no more than 3 inches long and would never get fully hard. It was such a turnoff I just bailed. I said I had a stomach ache, which was true. Christian thought he was Michelangelo's depiction of David, with a porn star's cock to boot, and talked himself up. I don't think this man ever looked in the mirror once, but ignorance is bliss, I guess. Physically, he was not my type, and he was just the kind of guy that turned off a woman by speaking. He fancied himself a genius, on par with Einstein and Hawking, but no one just recognized his talent and thought process. But boy, did he peacock his intelligence, and God, he insulted mine and everyone else's constantly. This is coming from the guy who didn't finish high school, but by his words, he was far past high school by the time he would have graduated anyway. So the flaunting of book smarts, inexperience with sex, and the wafer-thin neckbeard/incel look, this man was a walking pussy deterrent. So many things he sent me and claimed he liked made me retch. But it was also hilarious because he'd likely never done any of them. I also want to put in again, I'm not shaming any of BDSM fans here. I'm not into much of it, but you do you. Christian just misunderstood all of it and made it honestly disgusting. His idea of it was tossing a woman around, or at least imagined he could, and making them subservient 24/7. It was sickening. He soon started gaslighting me, and at the time I didn't know what that was. I honestly thought I was losing my fucking mind and he would press me to get medicated. I have depression and anxiety, like a lot of people, but I've personally learned to cope and I don't feel the need for medication. If I did, I'd certainly go for it, but I've had it under control for a while and I'm honestly happy. Christian would not stand for that. He would lecture me. He also imagined himself a doctor and even said, I know enough to be able to self-diagnose. He tried to diagnose me with bipolar, schizophrenia, and OCD on top of my depression and anxiety. What was sick though is that he would laugh about it, like he knew something I didn't, and that I was also lesser than him for having any form of mental illness. That angered me, and I told him right then and there if he did not try to stop diagnosing me, we were done. End of story. I guess my tone was that serious because he actually stopped. I'd been misdiagnosed before by an actual professional, and it's not fun. Mistakes happen. Doctors aren't perfect, but the misdiagnosis has left me with some lifelong internal issues that have to be monitored occasionally. So I sure as hell wasn't going to let a 34-year-old man who lives at Mom's house tell me what was wrong with me. Self-diagnosing isn't even as bad as this. This asshole was diagnosing his girlfriend. I also find it hard to believe at this point that he's got perfect mental health either. Instead of diagnosing me, he turned to another kind of odd behavior. I was going out a lot of the time on weekends, drinking with friends, seeing family, weekend getaways. I was living it up in my 20s, as one does. Whenever I'd go out with friends, Christian would change his tone. Not to one of cruelty, but he'd have to remind me of my depression and anxiety, and that if I drink, I will make it worse. I have never once driven a car drunk, been kicked out of a party, or a bar for drunken behavior. Often, I am the designated driver and will not drink at all, and I never get drunk in public places like bars, clubs, etc. I'll get a buzz going, but I refuse to get anything over buzzed because I like to keep my wits about me. I made the mistake of telling him I have a heart murmur, due to my prior misdiagnosis, and he would always hang that over my head. I ignored Christian's cries for me to stay home, so he had to up his game. Oh yes, he had to scare me now. Well, fuck this guy. If I want to drink with depression, that's my own business. He started saying really off-the-wall things. One example is I was going to get my flu shot, and I let him know. I got caught up at work that day, put it off, and didn't do it until a few weeks later. I told Christian again that I was going to get one, and he thought I already did. I told him I had to put it off for work, but I was on my way to the clinic at that moment. After my shot was done, I was met with a slew of texts asking how could I be so stupid as to put it off. What if I had gotten sick? If I had died, he couldn't have been there to protect me. He went on to describe what it was like to have the flu and die from it, and pneumonia, bronchitis, etc. I've only ever been sick maybe 3 to 4 times in my life. I've only ever gotten the flu once. I still strongly believe in vaccines though. I don't know what it is about me. You can put me in a room full of people sick as hell and I won't catch it. Never broken or even fractured a bone no matter how hard I've fallen as a kid, and I fell downstairs in trees constantly. I was an idiot. Maybe I'm living the real life unbreakable. Who knows? M. Night Shyamalan, give me money if this is true. Christian kept on with trying to make my life a living fear factor. I used to live in a spot right next to the ocean and you could see the water from my windows. Seriously, it was unbelievable, and for what I was paying, it was almost too good to be true. But it was just a little old lady who needed to rent out her home for a bit of extra income. She wasn't looking to price gouge. I miss her in that place a lot. We talked a lot and she baked me so many cookies and brought pounds upon pounds of food for my cat. Anyways, even though I lived close to the water, it was a rural neighborhood. We lived next to a bird sanctuary and had neighbors with chickens and outdoor animals, so in turn we got coyotes and other predators. Plenty of our neighbors owned guns for that reason, so occasionally you'd hear a gun go off in the distance, especially in the summer and fall when the dogs would come hunting for pets/small animals. Christian heard one on a Skype call we were having and asked what it was. I just told him casually, probably a neighbor shooting at a coyote or some other predator. And he just goes off again. He asked me was I afraid, and I told him of course not. 1, not my property, and it was in the back of us, and 2, it was not a break-in, it's my neighbor most likely. Christian started rambling, so I tuned him out, but one sentence stuck out to me. He said, "There's not much stopping one of those bullets from ending up in your skull." I actually laughed. I just started wailing in laughter. Yeah, I probably would have called him a coward or something personally. I told him the odds of that are very unlikely, and if for some reason it did, how could it matter to me? I'd be dead, or at least brain dead. He was not pleased with my logic. It took me a while, but I soon put together that even with my lack of confidence at the time, I was very independent and strong-willed. I had friends and family who cared for me, but as an adult I can only 100% rely on myself, so I need to take care of myself. Christian did not take kindly to a woman being so self-assured, and he tried to wear me down. Scaring me wasn't an option, so he started going back to my looks. My clothes were too dark and depressing, as he put it. I didn't wear heels enough. Seriously, this guy had a massive fetish for heels, and I soon learned more about it. He berated me for dressing like a punk and that men prefer women who wore tea dresses and heels. He didn't like that I had career plans and that I am ambitious when it comes to bettering myself. It was always a threat to him, so he started talking down my dreams. I'd never make it as an illustrator. I'd only ever be able to work certain jobs due to my limited knowledge. But he assured me he'd be able to excel, so he'd take care of me, of course. I didn't need to fret. Even after all this, against my better judgment, I let Christian come over again to stay after the holidays. I had a week off and he wanted to stay for a week and a half. Okay, not too bad. Maybe us talking in person will clear the air. I also was thinking to myself that if this second trip goes poorly, this is it. I'm done. There is something wrong with this man greatly and want out. So my next story will be about the second coming of Christian Grey, as well as the breakup. Wow, this guy's a real piece of shit, isn't he? Pretty much every kind of abusive but one. I like how she was able to zone him out when he was being stupid and how he's trying to fix that by moving in with her. I think I see what's going on here. I might be wrong because I haven't read ahead yet. This man has had a real bad decade. His wife cheated on him and left 9 years ago, then he has to survive brain cancer, and then he loses his job and has to move back in with his parents. And it all started with when his wife left him. He's probably terrified to lose the new relationship. That doesn't excuse it, though. This man is willing to break someone else emotionally and financially to make sure she can't leave him. We all know why he doesn't want her working. It's for control. Anyway, we'll talk more about him next time. That was part 2 of 4. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you have something to say, let me hear it in the comments. I always read all the comments for the first day or so. If you're new here and want more, subscribe for more of the same. I'm going to surpass my old channel one of these days. So tomorrow is Veterans Day, and I'm a veteran, so I feel like I should make something. Video, maybe? I can stream now, actually. We'll see what I come up with. Oh yeah, for anyone wondering, Lucas was trying to get the nurse's number, and when she refused, he called her a classist slut. The call of the nice guy, calling women sluts for not wanting you. Have a great night, everyone, and don't self-diagnose.